Namaste, Hare Krishna. Second chapter, Sankhya Yoga, text 46. Yāvān artha uda-pāne sarvataḥ samplutodake tāvān sarveṣu vedeṣu brāhmaṇasya vijānataḥ. Two terms is given here, yāvān and tāvān, where this sloka gives an example to understand one of the questions that Arjuna had in his mind. Just to recap those three questions. The first question that Arjuna had in his mind, if one should not be doing those kamya karma mentioned in this Veda, then why that is being part of the Vedas in first place? Second question, that which is not recommended by Vedas has to be rejected. But this kamya karma is given in the Vedas. If we have to reject, then we should also reject the other portions talks about Atma. The point is, either accept the entire Vedas or completely reject it. For these two questions, we saw response in the previous slokas from 42 to 45. Now the third question is, if I don't do what is prescribed in the Vedas, then I will get sin. That was his question. So to answer that question, Krishna is giving response with an example here. Before we see the example, we should also know something. When it comes to knowledge or education, we see different mentality of people around us. Number one, some wanted to be the knower of everything for two reasons. That is, so they can be and show how better they are than others. Second reason, they get some self-satisfaction or some kind of happiness. And there are other type of people, mentality of people, feel that you need to learn everything, else better you don't learn anything. So therefore these two kinds of people that we just saw, number one, who wanted to be knower of everything, very passionate. And the second one is, doesn't want to know anything. So these are in the mode of rajas and tamas that we saw in the slokas before, 45. The third category or the mentality of people are who learn little or nothing but speaks a lot as if they know everything. This is the people we saw in the below sloka number 42, Veda vada ratha partha nānyat astiti vadinaha. So we see these three types of people most of the time in our dealings with in the world. When it comes to Vedas, Krishna is substantiating how one should learn or see the Vedas with a nice example. And also that example answering Arjuna's question, what if I don't follow those karma kanda section and I might get sin? So here, how there could be different well, the well with water. There could be well to in villages. There are well for certain purposes. There are well for washing cloth. There could be well for washing, taking shower, and different well. But the greater water, the reservoir of water, can take care of all these necessities of the small world once we use the reservoir of water, the bank of water. Similarly, the purpose of Vedas can be served for different types of needs that one may want to. So the question is, how will this be helpful? Because Vedas are huge and it's going to take a long time and lifespan is short. So how are we going to learn the Vedas, the entire Vedas? So therefore, we should understand that we only take what's really needed from the Vedas. So if there is a food festival arranged by a group of people or a county, then we may go to this food festival. There could be various continental items has been sold. But we can take only as much as we can eat. We cannot empty the entire the festival food offered. So we only take as much as needed. Likewise, tāvān, the Vedas provide so many things, including Upanishad, which talks about Atma and Paramatma. And for one to attain proper knowledge of Atma, one has to refer to the Vedanta, the Upanishad part, that will satisfy what is really needed for mankind. Like a small well, Saul provides a necessity of that particular need. So rather than get carried away by many things that's given in the Vedas, or also understanding that the rituals and sacrifices that mentioned in the Karma Kanda divisions of the Vedas is meant to gradually elevate one's consciousness and develop towards self-realization. That's the purpose of the Vedas. If that is not understood properly, then one might get carried away by various attractive things that given in the Vedas. Therefore, Krishna gives this beautiful example. And one might ask, how is this going to help one to gradually come to self-realization? Rather, it would have been much easier if the Vedas only talks about Atma. Well, that's not going to be very attractive for many types of people to take self-realization program directly. So there should be some bridging program to come to the level of self-realization. And that bridging is what is done by Vedas. For example, to make it much more understandable, say a person who is completely atheistic, who doesn't believe in God, who doesn't believe in Vedas, scriptures, and he has some enmity with someone, and another person is really giving hard time to this person. So he came to know that the Vedas, the Atharvana Veda part, provides a special yaga called Sena Yaga, which will destroy the enemy. Though he is atheist, though he doesn't believe in the Vedas, for the sake of wanting to get rid of his enemy, there's nothing wrong in trying this one. After all, some money will be lost. If it works, works. If it doesn't, no problem. So he came to know about this, and he goes to a priest and requests the priest, and the priest says, yeah, there is something called Sena Yaga, we can perform that for you. And he said, just go for it. And he does that. And interestingly, he sees the result, that his enemy is taken away. Now, this atheistic person, after some time, get married, and now he didn't have a son, for many years. He remembers our priest. He goes to the priest and asks, I don't have a son. Is there a way in your Vedas which helps me to get a son? Of course, putra kameshti. There's a yagya called putra kameshti yagya. If you perform that, you will get a son. Then our friend says, go for it. And the priest does it. And interestingly, for his surprise, he gets a son. He makes a business, he works on the business, and he wants to bring his business to the top level. So he goes to the priest and asks if there is any yagyas available that can help him to get wealthier. Vayavya yagam. There's a yagam called Vayavya yagam. You perform this one, you will get all the wealth. So our friend proceeds with the help of the priest, and yes, he became a rich man. Now days and years passes, and then he feels that whatever he works for gives him the complete happiness, rather more problem with his money, with his son, with his family. Now enemies seem to be appearing within the family. So he was thinking if there is any long-term happiness that he can get than this short-term happiness. He goes to the priest, and the priest says, Jyotishtoma. There's a homa called Jyotishtoma. If you perform that, you can go to heaven and live long there. And his faith now has increased very strong in the Vedas by this time. And he performs the yaga, homa, and after leaving the body, he goes to heaven. He lives there, enjoys for a long period of time. But then once the credit is over, he was pushed down to take birth again. And then he understood even the heaven is temporary. Then he comes to our priest and asks, I thought heaven is permanent, but they threw me out. Is there a place where I can never have to come back and be blissful and happy forever? And our priest says, yes. And that is the Vedanta, Upanishad part. Now our friend is completely convinced after going through this exercise that purpose of life is to understand God, Atma and Paramatma, and the relationship with Atma and Paramatma, and attain the Supreme Lord. The only way that we can understand by the Vedanta, the Upanishad, part of the Vedas. This realization he wouldn't have got if the priest has told him in the very beginning when he came, because his faith was not strong, he didn't believe anything. Therefore, we can see that Vedas is such a wonderful mother. It gives all these different various options. So somehow or the other, everyone can gradually raise above these material modes, material needs, material enjoyment, and try to focus on Atma and Paramatma. Yāvān artha uda-pāne sarvataḥ samplutodake tāvān sarveṣu vedeṣu brāhmaṇasya vijānataḥ. Namaste. Hare Krishna.